I put a trampoline in my backyard in early 2017. I have 3 young boys, and we have enjoyed it immensely. My neighbor, the HOA president at the time, went to sell his house in spring of 2018, and his realtor said the trampoline in my backyard might be a detriment to getting top dollar for his home. So he convinced the neighbor on the other side of my house to complain as well. Out of the blue, I received a message from the HOA property manager that the neighbors complained, and I would need to submit a form to get it approved. Intermission. What's sad is that I was friendly with both of these people. They had been in my home. They could have talked to me face to face. With one of the neighbors, I paid for our shared fence at her request, since her neighbor on her other side wouldn't contribute to their shared fence. Another board member and human piece of garbage. I would have been willing to dig a hole for the trampoline, to hide it more, or purchase a new one with elastic bands rather than springs, to make it quieter. Both of those options are cheaper than getting a lawyer. But nobody asked. Nobody came to me to have a face-to-face, heart-to-heart discussion about their concerns. A few ironies. These are 5-bedroom homes. Clearly people with kids are going to move in, and they are going to be noisy in their backyard, with or without play equipment. The guy who sold his home smoked like a chimney. I don't think my trampoline should have been his top concern. The people who ended up buying his home are a great family with 2 kids who don't care about toys in other people's backyards. My neighbors have raised kids to adulthood, one of them 2 very active boys. When I pointed this out to her, the words that actually came out of her mouth were, "I know it's challenging to raise boys, but we're at different stages of our lives." As if that justified her trying to screw me. Back to the story. I filled out the form and sent it in. The Architectural Review Committee denied it a month later. I appealed the decision and met with the board in August. They sent me a letter and said it was in violation. I asked which rules I violated. They never sent me a letter, so I asked again a week ago. The property manager was adamant she had sent the letter, but I asked for proof. She forwarded an email where she put my name in the "to" field after the fact. I had a strong suspicion it was after the fact due to the following reasons. An HOA meeting was mentioned that never took place. The responses to my questions varied in color, indicating they had been edited at different times. She responded immediately to my request for proof by indicating she would forward the email, but then took an hour, presumably editing a draft she never sent. She cited a rule early in the email, but then cited an additional rule later that superseded the first. The first cited rule could have simply been omitted. The message was not marked as forwarded message at the top, and the sent time didn't include seconds. None of these things are a smoking gun, but they are suspicious. I asked the other people in the "to" field if they received a copy of the email with my name in the address field. The only honest member of the board replied he hadn't. The rest remained silent because they didn't want to look like they, and the property manager dropped the ball. Intermission. If you're curious why the board didn't like my trampoline, here is the rationale provided in the letter that was never sent. Due to the close proximity of the homes to each other and the small yards, the trampoline is unsightly to the homes surrounding it. Realtors for those homes surrounding you have stated that it is a detraction to selling homes and is lowering the home values of those around it. There have also been neighbor complaints regarding the noise level, which creates those homeowners to be unable to enjoy their homes. They are also unable to use certain portions of their homes while the trampoline is being used. My kids all weigh under 35 pounds. They go to bed at 7 p.m. and don't jump on the trampoline in the morning before 10 a.m. My neighbors bought homes 10 feet away from mine. What did they expect? Back to the story. The year-end meeting was scheduled for yesterday, and 4 board positions were up for election. I got 3 of my friends on the street to run with me. I went door to door every day for a week and spoke with the majority of homeowners about their discontent with the street. I got a third of the community to sign proxy forms stating that I would vote on their behalf. I went to the meeting last night and put these fools on blast. I listed calmly all the ways the current board was failing the community and my plan to right their wrongs. The vote was a landslide in favor of myself and my friends getting elected. One awful board member remains, but he is the minority. We fired the property manager who was uncommunicative and flat-out dishonest. The trampoline endures. The only bummer is now I have to manage a street which includes some legit crazy people. But this whole episode has convinced my wife that we will never live in an HOA again, which I count as a huge victory in addition to the trampoline remaining where it is today. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided that we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70/mo all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later, I log into the website and see that there's already a bill for $139. I call up a rep to see what's up, and they tell me that between the activation fees, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me, and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service but would not waive the bill. They also told me if I canceled immediately my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So I figure since I already have to pay for the month and I don't want to lose my phone number, I will just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for a refund. The rep informs me that since I have had the service for 4 days that I am not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming because the first CSR that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I ask for the next level of CSR, and they send me to a customer care and retention person. I explain the entire fiasco to him, and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, sales rep and first CSR. He is a really cool guy and apologizes, and says he'll take care of it, and will completely waive the bill. I am very thankful, and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month, and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received, and is now late. I again pick up the phone and call AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 CSR reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time I did not have the chill dude. Instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by, no response. I call again. This time I get a very nice lady that is sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the BLLHA's ALREADWBEN sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report, and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later, I get a letter in the mail from Sequium Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt, since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in and sure enough Sequium has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately write letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark. Thank God. Another 3 months go by, and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in NY again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable because it appears that Sequium couldn't verify it. So instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I send another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far, they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of the story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing. I am not cash-strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I have lost 5x that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town, and when I was going over our monthly expenses, I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000, AT&T for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and a director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks ago, the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda, and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching, we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee, which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it. AT&T lied to me 3+ times, put false marks on my credit, and made me spend countless hours on the phone and sending letters to fix it. I am a city councilman and found out we could save 50% by switching all of our services from AT&T, which saved our city thousands and cost AT&T a $72,000 a year contract. Thanks for the gold. We just went into budget session, and it turns out we actually saved $108,000 per year. Lol. Nobody likes a lunch thief, and I had one of the most aggressive at my office. There were rumors for a few months leading up to the inciting incident of someone going around and taking people's lunches. Just about every day someone different would complain that their lunch was missing. It even happened to me once or twice. But I figured, hey, it's a big office. A few people are probably just careless and grab the wrong lunch and are too embarrassed to bring it back, or someone else packs their lunch, and they don't know what's in there, so it's not obvious they have the wrong one, or whatever. Most people just brought brown bags with their names on it anyways, or identical Rubbermaid Tupperware with a little piece of labeled tape on the side. It was easy enough to mix it up. I had accidentally grabbed a wrong lunch once or twice, but I'd noticed before I got it open. I thought I was just more careful, or even just not as busy as some other people in the building. However, other people weren't as forgiving, and a quorum made complaints to HR. They were blown off. Personally, at the time, I thought it was all much ado about nothing. But then it began. My wife enrolled in a French cooking class online, and just about every day I was bringing fancy gourmand leftovers in for lunch. You'd think I was picking up a to-go bag from a Michelin-starred bistro on the way in each morning. She really threw herself into the coursework. There were no problems for about 2 weeks, maybe 3, until one day my lunch went missing. Considering what delicacies I had to look forward to, I was pretty miffed. But I did a once-over around the break room and didn't see anyone eating my lunch, so figured someone grabbed my bag by accident earlier, saw how good things looked, and realizing it was their lucky day. didn't bring it back to the fridge. I wrote the mysterious stranger off as an asshole, but accepted the loss and looked forward to dinner that night instead. Next day, I write my name on my lunch in extra bold lettering, jam the bag into the back of the fridge, and feel peace of mind. I get there come break time. Nope, it's gone. I was pretty upset, but I figured it was a stroke of bad luck, and left it at that. What else could I do? However, third day, out of an abundance of caution, I kept my lunch at my desk. A pain, because I had to eat it fairly early in the day to avoid spoilage, but at least I'd know where it was. I got up to take care of some business down the hall, and when I came back, yep, my lunch was gone. Unfortunately, that didn't help me narrow it down much at all, because my desk is centrally located so everyone's constantly passing by. At that point, there was no possibility of the theft being arbitrary, so I approached HR and filed a complaint. Their response, practically verbatim, was, "Employees' lunches are their personal property and the company is not responsible for lost or stolen personal items." The following day, my wife packed a cream-based soup that really had to be refrigerated. I was passing by the break room to check on my lunch practically every 5 minutes. Somehow it still managed to disappear. I was irate at this point and returned to HR and really blew my top. The best they could do was send a memo around about remembering to check the name on your lunch when you remove it from the fridge, but they made very clear that it was a routine memo and in no way related to my complaints, which were not their jurisdiction, so not an admission of responsibility, because my lunch was my own personal problem. The only suitable alternative to packing a lunch available in the building are these wretched shrink-wrapped ham and cheese sandwiches from a vending machine. They've been marinating in the heat for God knows how long, and the bread is as stale as corkboard, and the meat is rancid, and there's gluey mayo smushed into the center. It's a relic of the old office tenants, I'm pretty sure. I vented daily to my wife, but her only idea was to start bringing a regular sandwich, and apple again to dissuade the thief, and get him to move on to other lunches. So, determined to prevent this low-life scum from downgrading the quality of my lunch, I hatched an elaborate plan. Then the pandemic hit, and I forgot all about this whole saga. I worked remotely for months and months. Then we returned, and after all that had happened globally, this was the last thing on my mind. But I got to the break room the first day back, frustrated from having to wear a button-up and tie after months of working in pajamas, sore from my desk chair, and exhausted from small talk, only to find my lunch was gone. This was a particularly sore point because my wife and I divorced between my last luncheon work and the present one, so I did not appreciate being reminded of any past threads involving her. I pretty much flew into a blind rage at that point, especially seeing that stupid worthless memo about checking the lunch bag names posted in the break room. Feeling so helpless and so hungry and so alone as it was me and my lunch against the world, I stormed out and was determined to return the next day with a plan. So I came in the following day with an empty lunch bag, and I checked closely to be sure no one was watching, and I switched the contents of the HR person's lunch bag into my bag. So now their lunch appeared to be my lunch. They'd packed a regular brown bag, so I just discarded that, and I left, and I waited. I knew this was a pretty big gamble because it was contingent on the theory that the thief was avoiding me while having lunch, but not wary of anyone else, so would eat out in the open if there were no risk of bumping into me. So I made a big show of going around the office announcing that I was headed out for a meeting, and I wouldn't be back until at least 3:00 p.m. I even went to the trouble of moving my car out of the lot to a space 2 streets over, where I then sat in my car and worked remotely for several hours before sneaking into the building up the back stairway. I then sat in the stairwell just outside the break room, where you can hear chatter can't be seen, and after about 20 to 30 minutes of waiting, I heard it. The sweetest sound I'll ever hear in the office. HR, what the heck, Kyle? That's my lunch. Lunch thief. Nah, it's not your name on the bag. HR, give me that. I'm assuming grabs bag and sees my name. HR, yeah, Let's head to my office for a chat. The HR rep later called me in as well and said they were aware of my break room hijinks, but it was obvious that the point still came across loud and clear. They warned me that it was a violation of policy to move another employee's lunch. It took every ounce of self-control for me to keep from retorting. I thought our lunches were our personal property and the company was not responsible for them being lost or stolen. They informed me they'd located the thief and things would be handled accordingly. But better than whatever write-up they might be able to issue Kyle, his reveal as the lunch thief occurred in front of the whole break room. So word quickly spread as to who had been stealing everyone's lunches earlier last year, and he is now the office pariah. He was in line for a promotion. The promotion is indefinitely off the table, and I also earned brownie points for exposing him, though more than I'm satisfied with are being attributed to HR. At the end of the day, though, I didn't do this for this credit, or even the sweet, sweet, sweet revenge. I did it to get my lunches back.